Welcome to another BurnLive show, Friday edition, where we talk about politics and things that matter deeply to us. I'm your host, Capiche. My beautiful, lovely Nene is down on the weather. I got Gucci in the building, and I got also Johnny after his heart in the building. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the show. I actually like that intro. That was not a bad intro.
Nah, intro wasn't bad at all.
Yeah, you know, it's like certain days, depending on what it is, it's like I got it down. Don't let me be lost, and you're gonna tell in my intro. I take pride in my intro. So today we have a small discussion. I know there's so many things that's going on in the internet today, but we're gonna go and touch on a couple of subjects. We're going to start off with what Johnny wants to discuss over this discussion, and he wants to hear our thoughts and break it down. So without a further ado, let's go and hear this conversation.
The other day that you feel like kids should disrespect their parents.
Wait, no, wait.
How many of you guys in this room would like to raise your children to be strong-minded, independent thinking, ambitious kids or adults, right? If you were going to instill that, part of that is confidence, part of that is voice, part of that is knowing I have value. And I'm talking 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. The first place they practice voice is on you guys. My mother would say, Ellie, go do the dick. And I would be like, why didn't you ask one of them? And that would get me popped. But if you're teaching a child to be confident, to be strong, to value their voice, they should ask those kinds of questions, and it allows you to parent them. We shouldn't translate that as disrespect.
Never think to talk back. I would never even think to talk to my parents the way my kids talk to me.
We confuse respect for silence, and I think that's a problem. If I say go paint the house and the child says yes ma'am and goes paint, we think, oh, that's such a respectful child. But that same child, if some strong-willed 17-year-old kid in high school says, let's go skip school, they're going to say, yes, sir. Like, we have to teach them to question, why am I painting the house? I should understand the context of the life that I live in. Why am I painting the house? For these reasons. Okay, now it makes sense to me. And I understand, and I can do things that I understand and push back on things I don't.
That's why white folks got kids on issues in the malls. Like that.
Yeah, I don't agree with you with that.
A child, they have thought without wisdom. So you might ask the child to mow the lawn, but in their child brain, you ask me to paint the house. It's not, you have to help me understand the world in which I live. And I think it's both ends of the spectrum. If the child says, I want to play basketball and I need $600 Jordans, I don't think it's enough to just, oh, you got good grades. You want to sit them down and explain to them, like, this $600 is hard to earn.
That's right.
And you're worth it. And then that child thinks they have value. But remember, guys, like, they get confidence, they get thought, they get spontaneity before they get wisdom. I'm from a generation where the smack in the face was the teacher. And I'm saying, conversation needs to be the educator. You have to change what your child sees when they look in a mirror and they see themselves, or you're not doing a good job as a parent. All I see is I'm just like a tool that's being like behavioralized away. That's not how we become effective, successful adults. That's why we take any job and any salary. And certain people, certain cultures, they go into a job and like, I want this salary. Why? Because they've been raised to value themselves. Right. They've been raised to value who they are. They have a level of self-worth. So you just can't pay them anything. Right. And we need to raise our kids to say, you are worth my conversation. The only thing that you guys have, that all of us have, that we cannot get back is our time and our attention. So give your time and attention to your children. And the best way to do that is through conversation.
Yo, share your kids, be a smart ass, and talk back to understand why they are doing what they are doing. Am I getting that understanding correct?
I would say, should your kids? Yeah. I think you are. Yeah, but I would probably soften it up and say, are your kids allowed to talk back?
I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that. Soften it up. Are your kids allowed to question your decisions and decisions that you make? And you know what? I'm not totally against all of this. What it is just what statute are your parents on for as education, learning, and teaching their kids to grow? Okay. Um, I got a highly educated family. You know what I'm saying? My parents are very successful in what they doing. Do I expect the kid to talk back as much? No. Now, if I got a kid out here who's feeding themselves, who's putting food on their table, who actually getting up and going to school on their own without the help of the parents, and then the parents like, oh, I want you to do this, and this. Yeah. Because there are incidents, there are cases out here where kids are handling more responsible roles than what the parents allow their kids to do. There are situations where the youngest kid has to raise the oldest because, hey, some kids are not all the way street smart, so they don't know the safety rules of crossing the street. I can agree to an extent on that. Like, yeah, there have been times where my parents be like, or yeah, a parent or an adult be like, hey,
No.
I want you to go to the store and go give me a Pepsi and panties. And I'll be looking like, why am I a man, a boy, a young teenager going to the store to go get you a Pepsi and panty? That makes absolutely no sense to me. I'm a boy. I shouldn't be going to the store going to get female products. That sends somewhat of the wrong message to a guy, to a young boy, if he's not fully understanding the ways of life. Yes, there are questionable attributes that parents put their children through that I definitely 100% believes it needs to be questioned. If anybody would like to say something, please tune in anytime or continue this conversation. But what type of
Does
boundaries?
anybody disagree? Should
It's
your
gonna be hard.
kids be allowed to question your parenting?
Should, yes, yes. The more I think about it, yes, kids should be allowed to question. Should they verbally question it out loud? Maybe not all the time. Maybe not everywhere. But there should be a point in time to where a kid should be allowed to sit down and say, hey, parent, I feel like this way of raising me is not very ethical, it's not very smart, it doesn't teach me anything, I'm not learning nothing. There are eras of learning things that, like we like to talk about back in the day, things that were taught in the 40s. I love to bring up the 40s, 50s, and 60s. That era is a true definition era. It has its time. Things that you was taught back then definitely 100% needs not to be taught in today's society. We're not going through those same attributes. We're not facing those same problems. Now, the black community will say, oh, yeah, you are. You're still facing discrimination. You still can't drink at a water fountain. And then I have to call you out on your bullshit. You know what I'm saying? But then when you're looking at Hey, daddy brought home a dog. Dog always barks at me. Forever barking at me. Daddy's sitting there and he doesn't want to go outside because it's 110 degrees. Daddy's saying going outside and go feed the dog. There's a hyperability chance that I can get bit by this dog. Dad, I don't think that's a good idea. But you know how parents are, shut up and go do what I say. Dad, I don't think that's a good idea to send me out there to go feed a dog that keeps barking at me.
I can't hear you, Capiche.
E-Dub, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, Johnny, you're gonna have to drop down and come back. See, even Queen did it. Can you hear me now, Gucci? Can you hear me now?
Yes, I got you.
Okay, so the more I think about this decision and that question, I would have to say yes. The more I think about my own son and how he's living, I think he should question how he's living and how he wants to be raised. But I also think that's a difference how he wants to be raised and how he needs to be raised. My
Yeah, about
my child, and I'm not trying to put my child personal business out there, but he's hard headed. He has a street life mentality. He doesn't want to admit it because you know he's a kid. He's like, I'm learning, I'm growing, I'm doing this, I'm this. But as an adult looking at a kid, as a young teenager, I'm like, bro, you think that you have a street life mentality. You think you have to get it out the mud.
Mhm.
That's not necessarily, that's a false statement. If everybody looked at it, they'd be like, damn, where's your mother? Okay, your mother stays at home with your great grandmother. Does she has a roof over her head? Yes. Does she provide for you? Yes. Does she does the best ability? That's the different story. You see what I'm saying? She checks all the boxes, but is it to the best of her ability? That's where you get a question. You can go look at the daddy. Do the daddy have a place for his son to go? Yes. Does he have a roof over his head? Yes. Can he provide food? Yes. Okay. I check all the boxes. Do you think he's going to raise his son to the best of his ability? You can't check that box off because that's a question mark. What is the
I think
best
that's
of
just
his
about the
ability?
parent.
Go ahead, Gooch.
I think that's a question that's for every parent. You can say that you checked off all the boxes. Okay, great, great. But then you don't want to come down to raising them the right way. It's hard because you don't know how they're going to take what you're going to tell them. They're not going to understand what you're going to try to tell them. So they're trying to do it themselves. And that's when they all get in trouble. They want to do it themselves. They don't listen a lot of times. They really don't. So it makes it hard for a parent, regardless if you have all the boxes checked off and you're doing the right thing. And you can say that I'm going to do the right thing. I can do the right thing. I got this and this and A, Y, and Z. But they still ain't going to listen. They think they know this, especially if they got street. Like, so if they think they got street mentality, smart mentality, they really ain't gonna listen. I was that way, and I didn't listen.
And the thing is, we know right from wrong. We
Mhm.
don't truly teach our kids right from wrong until they start making those mistakes.
Exactly.
You don't teach your kids about stealing until they
Oh,
actually pick up something and take it. Like, oh, I got to teach you that. We don't teach our kids about lying until the what? The first time they lie to us and we catch them. If you
yeah.
never catch your kids doing these mistakes, you'll never teach them.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. A lot of people. I mean, a lot of people. I parents who have it so great in life. You know, they people think, oh, they got it great because they got this, they got that, they can do this, they got the cleaning, they can do all this stuff, they're living lavishly. look at their kids are so great. No, but their kids are worse ones out of all of them. They think they can get away with shit because they have no choice to get out of their things and getting in trouble. They have the money to get out of it. Or they have parents who are in high places that can get them out of it. So a lot of kids don't listen, even if they do get caught the right way. Especially depending on the situation and circumstances that they're living.
Johnny, be good.
Yeah.
You was
Which was
born in what year?
96.
96. So you was really a kid in the 90s, late 90s, early 2000s, right?
That was my
Yeah,
son,
late
95.
90s, early 2000s. Yeah.
So you, unfortunately, you might not think about this subconsciously, but you technically are going to raise your kids like the late 90s, early 2000s mentality. Why? Because that's how you was raised. You're going to pick the good values out of that. Now, true indeed, most parents, and I'm trying to be more close to accurate of the number. Most parents don't teach their kids the bad ways that they was raised that they felt was unlawful. Listen to the words that I chose. They are unlawful. You don't really teach your kids the true values of what you learn when you learn because you learned them in a harsh way. And
Well, I mean,
that is factual. If you think about them times where your parents actually had to scold you over something you actually did wrong. And that's when you learned a value in life because you made a mistake. And without making mistakes, you would never learn anything. So when you look at this double-edged sword, because that's truly what it is, it's like, hey, you would never taught me this if I never did this, because you are probably a parent that never went down this road or was never this type of kid. And that's how kids think. Oh, my
well,
parents never did this. My parents are not cool.
my kids knew different though. My parents were taught the way I was taught. I was taught the streets. I was taught in the streets pretty much. That's how I grew up. That's how I taught them. That's how what I knew. And that's how I mean I didn't taught like street smarts as far as like doing bad things, horrible things and things. No. At times, yes, I have. But did I teach them that part? No. I just taught them the value of what you're gonna have to know if something like this does happen. And what you're gonna get caught up with and being told with, and I ain't gonna be able to there to save you or help you. You're gonna have to deal with this on your own. That's how I grew up. So that's how I have them. That's how they were raised.
And that's
My
how I
son,
feel like most of my friends. Well, yeah, most of my friends. I have to be very careful when I say this and iterate my friends, not people that I'm friends to that are not mine. I'm just their friends. That's a big difference. Okay.
yeah.
But most of my friends, even though they graduated, they still have a street mentality. So they raise their kids to have a street mentality
Yeah.
and watch out for the streets.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say like for me, growing up, I would say like I understand why my mom, did what she did growing up, right? So I can see that by me raising my parents, not my parents, but my kids. And that doesn't necessarily mean that the things that she did was some of the things that she did wasn't right, but now that I'm parenting, I understand why she was doing it. She was
Yeah,
tired.
exactly.
You know what I mean? She didn't, she was going through what she was going through.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And she was dealing with me the best way she can.
I
But as
love
far as
talking
how I
about
raise,
this.
huh?
I love I love talking about this because y'all, when it was taught to me, it really opened my eyes to understand that as a kid, as a human being growing up and looking at our parents, there are three ways of life that we look at our parents. Okay. And everybody goes through these steps. Now, some of them don't touch the third step. Some people ignore, and some people would never understand that, hey, yeah, he is correct. Okay. So when you first come around your parents, The first step is your kids look at you as you are a superhero. You can do no wrong. All right. You are the world. You are everything. They're always up under you. Easy for them to develop and learn from you. Okay. And then you have your second stage is the rebellion stage where the kid says that, hey, you don't understand me. You never grew up in these times. I'm going through my hormonal changes. So, the world is
Mhm.
looking different. Nobody understand me. Bullying happened in school. Grades are important. Kiss a girl, catch a girl. You got those stages and your parents don't understand. And then you have the final and third stand of understanding of like, damn, now I understand what my parents went through.
Yep.
And a lot, now this is the key thing. A lot of kids that are parents now don't get to go through that third stage because yet again, they never will forgive their parents for how they was raised. Do they
Yep.
have the right? On
No.
them.
But that's what my kids do with me now. Like, you weren't there when we were growing up and all this happened and blah, blah, blah. But I did the best what I had with what I could do with what I had. But I didn't come from money like some people did back then, and so they look at me like you were wrong, you messed up, and now we're gonna punish you for it. And they go, you can if you want
And,
to, but it ain't gonna
and a
get you
lot
very
of
far.
people, a lot of some people, y'all watch me, y'all hear me talking, we talk about different subjects, and people like I have a lot of hatred for like my race and the way I was brought up. And I really had to tell them, no, I don't. Because those three stages that I just explained to y'all, I had to go through those stages twice. I had to go through
Yep.
those stages for my parents to understand what my parents went through and why they went through. That's why I am the way I am and I think the way I think. Also, I had to go through them same three stages for my community to understand that yes, my community is harsh, mean, and all these things up above. But yet again, I can't blame everything on my community. Like my community want to blame everything on the white man. You see what I'm
Mhm.
saying, Johnny? And the reason I bring that up like that is just to show you, like, because we had the discussion the other day. You was like, you don't feel no remorse. And I had to go around and ask people that were close to me, you know what I'm saying, that questioning to make sure I'm not losing my insanity. And they were like, no, yeah, you do. And you do have these things and you do show those remorse for people. And I had to really think, watch a couple of videos, and you know what I'm saying, thankful for this think piece. I'm able to come back and like, you know what? I do have remorse. I do have sympathy and empathy for my people and what they go through because I had to think about my parents and what they went through to raise even me. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? And to take a look at self and understand self. I understand me. I was a young, crazy, wild, highly energetic kid. Facts. Not and that's not even me over exaggerating. That's just me being bluntly, honestly, and truthful to myself. Okay.
You're
I
fat.
was very I was very energetic, highly energized. I was a compulsive liar. I lied for no reason. I was highly into sports. That made me a jock.
Hmm.
And I didn't learn nothing about the streets until I got older. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? A teenager, almost a young adult. That's when I started really learning about the streets, and the streets embraced me. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? I wasn't too much of a nerd. Basically, they beat the nerdness out of me, but you know what I'm saying? That's a different story to understand,
Hmm.
like, okay, this is what the streets is. This is what I got to look out for. This is why reality is the way it is.
Yep.
Not what you hear at a dinner table with your families
Or
and
what you're
friends.
seeing on
Those are
TV.
stories. Most stories are exaggerated to keep interest at the dinner table.
Yep.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. You know, it was probably just in that moment. We all have moments. So it was probably you probably I wouldn't say you don't. like I said, I don't really know too much about
The
you
case.
and and all that in the full case. So maybe it was just in that moment. It wasn't. I didn't feel like it was being
Explain.
expressed. Yeah,
Right.
you know what I mean. So, um,
But
but
you're
as
not the
far
only
as
one.
amen. But as far as like the parenting and stuff. As far as the parenting and stuff. It's just little things, right? Like I like when I'm with my kids now. Yeah, they young, 3, 4, 5. You know what I'm saying? 6, 10. They're young, but I can still see. Talking about those 3 stages, I can understand my. I think it took me having kids to probably understand my mom. You know what I mean? Seeing what she was going through, and as far as having to deal with them, but also, right, it gives me an opportunity to kind of overcome that too. You know what I'm saying? To be like, okay, I see what she was talking about now. I have a choice where I can succumb to it or I can, override it and say, well, you know what? I understand her. Yeah, I get that. Yeah, I do feel these feelings. But you know what? Let me try to go about it this way. And that's where, like, me explaining things coming. Because my mom was the type that was like, do what I tell you to do. Don't question it. Don't none of that. Do what I tell you to do. Period. If I tell you to go to the store, you go to the store. If I tell you to clean up, you clean up. Right? If I tell you you can't get something and you ask why, and you ask too many whys, it's over. You know what I'm saying? You got a certain number of whys, and sometimes you ain't even get that. So, I grew up in a household where like I couldn't talk or, you know, express oneself. But I would say this: a parent should not take on. I wouldn't suggest my parenting style for everybody. And I say that to say this: it's gonna be moments where you will have to humble yourself and say, you know what, my kid is right in this moment. Sometimes you may have that, and that may even happen in front of your best friend or in front of in front of whoever you. It may happen. And you got to be prepared to say, you know what, and not necessarily submit to the person, but just submit to the truth. So I would say, like, you know, if you do want to get into that style of parenting, be ready and be. I would have to say, like, be humble enough to do it, because it takes a great amount of humility. I'm not gonna lie to you, because boy, the way my son talked to me sometimes, I'd be like, yo, I could, but then I have to catch myself and I'd be like, you know what? Nah, that ain't that. Let me talk to him. No, son, this is why. That's why. You know, and sometimes it happen in front of grandma. It can happen in front of anybody, and I'd be like, you know what? Let me not do that. Let me. And it's because, like, I
But
want him to voice himself. I want him to be able to speak up. If it's especially with me and especially with anybody else, you know what I'm saying? I want him to question things. I want him to not be afraid to ask questions to anybody. Not be afraid of anybody. When it comes to talking, and even being emotionally intelligent, being able to describe what he's going through and his thoughts and as to why he may not want to do something, or even sometimes giving him the help to be able to overcome certain things, right? Like with food in the instance, like if your kid gotta eat healthy, you say they may have to eat something that's not tasty, right? And you're like, well, you gotta take it like medicine, right? Some kids don't like medicine. And you say, well, you gotta drink the medicine because it's good for you, it's gonna help you, do X, Y, and Z. That's why it's needed. Even little moments like that, instead of saying, boy, you better take that medicine, even
do
moments
you
like
think?
that.
But do you think that's easier coming from if you came from a man or from a female? Like if you know you're talking to your kids as a dad, do you think it's gonna go further as being a father or being a mother? Like
I
honestly.
think there's something that you gotta when you parent these children, y'all both gotta be on the same page. Y'all gotta be like
Exactly.
a well-oiled machine doing the same thing together. You
That's
can't
the
have
thing.
one
But they're
doing,
not
you
that
know what I'm
though.
saying? Because then that's how kids,
No,
huh?
that's true. I mean, that's true. But I mean, I was me pretty much. I was only a single mother, even though their father was there. He wasn't. He was an
Yeah.
idiot, so he wasn't there to help me. Nothing at all. I had to do it myself, and that's when it got hard because I had to teach them how to be boys. I had to know you ain't gonna be disrespectful. You're gonna learn some manners, stuff like that. But when it came from me, it was different. When it came from him, it was totally different. Like they respected him
Yeah.
more and felt like to me than they did me.
Okay.
It's different
Well, there
because
may be moments where you still gotta like go ahead. Go ahead, Capiche.
the reason why it's different because of, and this is just when it comes back to what men like to say, nature. It's our nature to have this aggressive ability to control a room. And listen to the words, aggressive ability to control the room. When a female comes and controls a room, it's the softness of her presence, the quietness.
Maybe. But not when you do some females are like that, yeah. But there's females like me that I'm not like that. I
When
want you to hear me when I come in that
and
room.
see,
And
Gucci, and when it
what?
comes to controlling the room, and you say you're not
Mhm.
like that, I guarantee, and I'm not trying to put you down, but you're not gonna be able
Yeah.
to control the room
Exactly. That's
because
what I'm
you're gonna try
saying.
to match the energy of a man, and men is
Exactly.
already
Was the man supposed to be the dominant one to be able to prove he's the dominant one? Dad comes on, that's it. You go in the room and that's it. Mom's around, you fuck around and you get in trouble. That's fine because mom's around. Because what I'm saying, the man's presence is different. It's a different energy than it is
it,
for a
and
female.
it's because listen. And I think this is why it's like that because women don't understand. Y'all control a room different from how a man controls a room. I just broke it down how a man controls and how a woman
Yeah,
controls.
you're right.
But yet again, you don't hear dominant women saying that they come and control the room quietly unless you get those real quiet women who like, hey, I come in, I don't say nothing. I sit down, they be quiet.
Not ain't me. Not ain't those type of
You know
females.
what I'm
I mean, I
saying?
was
We
that
get
way.
Yeah,
allowed.
like for me personally, like how I control my kids, I don't I try to stay away from the yelling and talking over them and stuff like that. And if I do, I
Mhm.
apologize to them. Like I believe like when it comes to parenting and even as like dad, I believe I'm setting an example. And I don't want to be a poor example to my children. I don't want
Yeah.
to I don't want to be someone who they look at and they say, "Oh, you just got to do what he say. You just got to listen to him." I don't want to be that. I want this to be a place where they can learn and where they can grow in love, they can grow in wisdom, they can grow in understanding, and they can take that with them everywhere they go. Like I just had to tell my kids today, like how I'm raising you guys act the same way around everybody. Like
Yeah.
their grandma, their mom, sometimes is a little short with them. And I don't mean to put their business out there, but they a little short. They short
Short
tempered.
tempered.
They don't have enough patience, right?
Yeah.
And they see that with them. And that's why they act a little different with me. But when it comes to that, I just tell them, hey, keep acting the same. And if they got an issue, tell them to talk to daddy. Because daddy's this is how I'm raising you guys, and I want you guys to act this way. Question, you can question whatever you want to question. You can
Yeah.
ask whatever you want to ask. If they feel, whatever, tell them to come talk to me. And they try to say this, it's because you at my house or whatever, shut that down. shut it down. Tell them, well, I'm not doing anything wrong. Whatever you got to say. And if you come back and tell me that they mistreating you, then I'm gonna go over there and handle that. All right, then we're gonna have another. That's a whole nother topic. But that's how I'm raising them. I'm raising them in that kind of atmosphere. So like, I want them to question things. I want them to ask questions. I want them to even push through, right, through difficult situations where they have to and may have to endure um their taste buds, right? And eat something that's not tasteful, but it's healthy for them. Or they may have to do something that they may not want to do, but because they may have gone through that, they probably could go through this. You know what I mean? So it's like, parenting for the long haul. And I thank God for it. I don't give the credit to myself. I thank the Lord for helping me raise
I
them.
think
You know,
what I'm hearing is the fact that we are taking different opportunities that we have brought up in life and challenging the future. I don't think there's nothing wrong with challenging the future. What the future needs to understand is that what are your peers and what most adults are going to try to teach you. Understanding right from wrong. I mean, if your kids know the basics of that, there's not too many conversations that they're going to get into and be, what I'm saying, disrespectful in because you have put these certain morals into them. Now, will kids be kids? That's a different story. And the answer would most likely be yes. Kids are kids. Kids make mistakes. Kids mess up. Kids be loud. Kids are jumpy. Kids have fuller energy and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Um, that's why we made playgrounds and parks and stuff like that in
Hello?
school. Yeah, we hear you, Gooch. For people to do what they need to do, and that's why we made these places and stuff like that. What I seem to get the problem is the kids that are getting more older and they get to try to learn into what society at the time is when periods are changing. And I mean periods that I'm talking about, like the first cell phones compared to people that deal without the cell phone. When AI first came in compared to people who dealt with cell phones without AI. People who were used to record plans, people who are used to, what I'm saying, streaming. These are different eras of understanding life and society, and that's where you get the bumping in with heads when it comes to generation. When you comes to simple things like good music. Now, you know what I'm saying? Good music from the 40s, 80s, early 2000s is a huge separation. You see what I'm saying? A huge separation. So that's where you get a huge divide in society and then in culture and when it comes to parents and kids is when you get into minor
I
details
mean,
like
yeah,
that.
but
Yeah, but
I get
you
what you're saying. But those are just like that's just culture, right? That's not necessarily like
you want me to
what's
break it
right,
down real
what's
quick?
wrong,
It's
manners
technically
and yeah. Break it down for me.
it technically is, and I'm just gonna touch lightly on music for the simple fact somebody that grew up on jazz is definitely not gonna listen to gangster music or gonna want you as a kid listening to gangster music. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to Pacific that era because that was a big era to where culture changed where I don't want you to listen to where it was like, no, stop. You're not, no. People that were listening to Temptations and people that were listening to jazz, they was correlating. We was getting along. We was sharing our music of generation on up. When Jurassic 5 and them came, conscious rap, you still had maybe a little bit of no, because you still had Motown, you had alcohol, you still had drugs accumulating with music. You know what I'm saying? You still understand that sex was talked about in music. So no, you didn't have that. But I was honestly say when gangster music kicked in, when they was
Yeah.
allowing cuss words to be put, yes, it was a big halt and stop. No,
Yep.
you see what
I remember that.
that's where you had a, you know what I'm saying, a big understanding, a big noticeable ideology of separation and culture. Just like if you want to go deeper into like people that was into marching back in Martin Luther King Day versus people that was tired of marching and they wanted to ride streets. It was a big difference of ways.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's where so far that I'm seeing when it comes to parenting, where you start to show differences and people couldn't come together at like a dinner table and stuff like that of that nature. Because when that came around, and you really seen the marching on television shows. Go back and watch a black and white show, a talk show where they're up there talking about hey, brother, who you marching for? And then you got this sophisticated brother talking, and then you got this young kid talking about, brother, I don't know what you talking about. You talking nonsense to me. That's jazz, brother.
Mm-hmm.
You marching in the
Yep.
streets with those white men ain't doing nothing. See the separation of a generation of understanding what is working, what is not working. But yet again, eh, I would those when you was talking about earlier when like we need to step into those generations and talk about it, I was deep. I had 1612 up here ready to go. So I really, Johnny, I really want you to see from my point of view of these different eras. So you be like, oh, that era was like this. Black people
Mm-hmm.
was like this. White people was like this here in America. Go to the next era. Oh, black people was like this. White people was like this. It was truthfully like this in an era. Okay, let's go to the next era. And let's keep going on till today. And you be like, and so you can get an understanding like, hmm, stories that we hear are truthfully stories. They truthfully happen. But you honestly got to understand stories were put together with exaggeration.
Yep.
And when you can feed and take the emotion, that's what a lot of people hate from me is when you take out the emotion aspects of what you hear and you only gut in the truth. That,
Yeah, and that's hard these days. Nobody knows how to tell the
that,
truth
that's
anymore.
hard. And then you end up turning out to being on this side of the spectrum, and you talk more like how I talk, more in a conservative Christian mind, and y'all be like, nah, that ain't right. They'll be like, well, sir, I'm sorry. I went back and looked at the facts and the truth. Understand the divide in the country. Understand that once upon a time that it was hard to teach our kids to go outside. Yes, it was once upon a time. It wasn't cool to tell our kids to go anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Kid, don't go. You want to go play with your friends? No, stay in the house. But remember, this time there was no internet. So kids were dummy bored in the crib. We talking about playing hopscotch, read, um,
I'm
jacks, tic-tac-toe, checkers, chess,
hopscotch.
hopscotch. You
Double
wasn't
dutch.
doing it. You and your room was as big as how what you seen on my screen. So you really wasn't doing that much. I
That is
get
true.
that. I feel saddened for that time, like I said last time. And it hurts me to understand that dumb people had to go through that. It crushes my little soul to think that my ancestors was really afraid and had the right to be afraid at the time to tell their kids not to go outside.
But that's what it's starting to get
I mean, but
nowadays.
also, uh, oh my bad, Gucci.
No, you're fine. Go ahead.
I was gonna say also, you know, like you may have to take into an account. You may have to take into an account also, like, they just getting over, laws being created for them to, you know, be of equal value as their once superiors. So, like, coming out of that, it may take a little bit, for them to realize that, they are free, right?
Right?
And that, hey, people will go to jail now for mistreating you. You know what I'm saying? Hey, the justice system may be on your side now, because of these laws.
But that's just it. That's very true. But who's to say that that is really the truth, though? I mean, look at what's going on now. This whole what's his name being up there killing this
Ma'am,
white kid. I mean, I'm
ma'am,
sorry, but I don't
this
think
is,
what.
this is why I say because we have the time to do the resources. There's cop cam videos getting put out. There are people
Yeah,
that goes all the way out their way to put up any film recordings, try to make it go viral of any miswronging that happens in America.
you're right about
Okay.
that. But sometimes they don't catch everything.
They don't catch everything. But yet again, you got a million of them on TikTok. You got a million of them on YouTube. You got a million of them on Instagram. You got a million of them on Bookface. You got a million of them on Rumble. Yeah, yeah. You see what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, it
Every
goes everywhere. I know it goes everywhere.
it's
Eventually, something
everywhere.
goes everywhere. It goes around
So
everywhere. I get
if
that.
if the cases today were looking like 1940, if cases today was looking like 1960, boy, I'm sorry, it would be viral. We will be
Yeah,
itching our palms because that's how much good a race hustler will look because they will be telling us the truth.
yeah. But that's what I'm saying. A lot of people are. I mean, people are divided with certain. I mean, you know what I mean? Like
I
he
would
did this
not,
because he was black
I
kid.
wouldn't be up here. I wouldn't be up here calling people like the guy that helped out Matt, Austin, the little kid, the little black kid. I wouldn't be talking about Umar. I wouldn't be talking about Jesse. What's his name? That's on ABC. I wouldn't be talking about what's that dog on Don Lemon. I wouldn't be talking about what's her face with the eyelashes, uh, Jasmine Crotchet. I wouldn't be talking about these people, black people, in a negative light if the facts were true that the stuff that they spill out every day.
Yeah, you're right about that. I'm
What's the
not saying you're
black
not
dude
right.
that just lost his seat in New York because he pulled a fire alarm?
Well, I
He
can't
did
remember his name, but yeah, I know what you're talking about.
right. He pulled a fire alarm. He's a representative of the Black Caucus. I think he represents New York or somewhere. Like I said, I can't forget where he represents, but he's yet
I think
again
it's
a
New
black
York.
man. And they was having a very important meeting, and he couldn't make it over there because he was trapped on the other side, whatever reason. And he pulled a fire alarm to stop the meeting, and that's against the law.
Yeah, that is. Right about that. Oh,
And the reason I bring it up because yet again we got black representatives that's screaming out racism, but yet again they break the law and then they want us to excuse it. Well, I didn't try to pull the fire alarm, And then it went viral, and we all show him running up there to the fire alarm. It was
Yep.
not pulled up. It was pulled down when he walks away in picture frame, because yet again, they don't, you know what I'm saying? They don't want to show us the
Yeah.
full video. So it's like, come on, man.
Yeah,
Come
I
on.
mean, that's true. I'm not saying that's not true. But I'm just saying, like, there are some things that still go on in this world today that are fucking disgusting and pathetic. Regardless of the times or not, it
But we're
is.
teaching our
It's
kids that.
happening all over the place.
Right now, more black kids are getting taught that Carmelo Anthony is an innocent black man that's finna go to jail for no reason.
Well, I
Is
mean,
that right?
no, that's not right. But I'm saying, I mean, I don't know the facts. I haven't researched everything all the way yet. But I mean, as far as what I do know, why would Cardi B be getting in the middle of it like this? If he was
Who?
innocent, Cardi B, she's gonna get him a $5 million lawyer, like a top-notch lawyer.
Okay, they raised $500 million. I mean, 500,000, 600,000, and couldn't get the best lawyer. I just watched a video of the guy talking about vetting the lawyers that they picked.
Yeah,
I just
I heard
watched
about that.
And for Cardi B and Charleston White to want to waste their money
Mm-hmm.
on going getting this guy a lawyer. So these parents who used to live in a hood, remind you guys, this happened a year ago. Remind you guys, these guys used to stay in a hood. Now they don't. Now they stay in a gated community.
Yeah.
Nice, no crime around. You know, I get all of that. And
I don't.
I get it that both of these kids probably got some Instagram post. Let's keep it real. Some Instagram post where they're carrying guns and have a lot of money, all acting like they from the hood and they had to trap it out.
Yep. No, I don't doubt you on that at all.
So when I see images like that, true or false, when you see images like that, you just like, hey, what are the facts and what are the truth?
Yeah, that's right. That's true.
Did this little black kid get jumped? No. Were this white kid and this black kid around the same height and weight? Yes. Okay. Did the little white kid get stabbed? Yes. Did he lose his life? Yes. Weapon there? Yes. Victim there? Yes. Suspect there? Yes. Case closed. Over 21 witnesses testified.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? I wasn't there, but 21 witnesses testified. They showed
that
one.
situation.
They showed one camera view of what happened. So there was only one camera view of what really happened. Excuse me.
So there wasn't like all kinds of there's just a number of guys that were around this kid, and he felt scared or something, or there was just him and this kid were just going on themselves. I hadn't seen the
From what I
video.
keep hearing over and over from people that truthfully tell the story of what they seen in the camera, it was one on one. No jumping, no brawl, you know, you can't really hear because yet again, remember this, guys, the camera view is from across the field on top of a light pole. You know, stadium lights at a high school football field.
Yeah.
Friday night. So that's where the camera's at that they're showing down. They zoomed in, I guess, as close as they could. But yet again, it's raining. And hell, that's how they went off of.
No, it's just still a sad situation anyway.
It is a sad, and that's why I'm glad we do cop cams and court cases on Thursday, so people can understand and see. Like, there's so many cop cams out here, so
Yeah.
many, and when you see them, most of the time, majority of the time, the suspect is always doing something wrong. I showed a video and it didn't go viral. I showed a video of a woman had a whole precinct on lockdown
Damn. For what?
because
By herself?
by herself. They had to call a whole unit from a whole cross town to come get the girl because she was in the right place at the right time with a gun and could no other police officers get to a gun.
Wow. I guess I saw that one. I've been watching a lot of court cam videos lately.
I watched them over here. I watched one where a cop didn't pat a little girl down good enough because tapped her. Guess where he got shot at? He got shot in the side of the face. By who? By the same girl that had a pistol on her out of his own squad car.
Wow.
Got shot in the face. You know that scar gonna be there forever.
Mm-hmm.
So
And he's gonna have nerve damage and all that stuff.
I look at these court cases and I look at these people and I'm like, man, like you would have never known nothing about none of these cases, but now that you got all these cop cams, and then cops gonna release theirs and police officers are gonna release theirs, so you're gonna see the good and the bad within people. But we never talk about that part, the good and bad within people.
Or not.
And how we
Why
need
would
to
you?
restrict, how we need to just, hey, people that are bad need to be locked up.
That's true. There shouldn't be no ifs, ands, or buts about that.
I would love to have that conversation. People
World
that are
can't be
bad,
safe unless people get
yes,
locked up
need
when
to
they're doing
be
bad things. There can't be no
locked up.
bias. You're like, oh, what's up, little kid? Oh, no, it's this. Oh, no, it doesn't matter. It's fine. If you're doing wrong and you're doing not the right thing, then guess what? You have to deal with it. And if you can't deal with it, then that's your problem. But I think everybody should just go to jail for doing something wrong, because it just puts everybody else in danger. It's not fair.
All right, y'all.
I don't know. That's just the way I think.
I feel it. We got the USA World Cup FIFA going down today. United States will be playing in Florida and California within 2 hours versus Portuguese. Go represent America. Yeehaw. FIFA is supposed to be generating your city, your town, wherever you at, a lot of money. FIFA is played all over the United States of America down to the finals. It's for the next 3 weeks and stuff like that.
Hello.
I'm here. And with that, I'm gonna have to just say good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Anytime that you're watching this, I appreciate you guys hanging out with your boy. And I'm gonna say I'm out. Peace.
This motherfucker is locked.
Talking, I'm in love, baby.